Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this information session today on the changes to the City of Tucson's local minimum wage. My name is Johanna Hernandez. I'm a Deputy Director for Business Services at the City of Tucson, and today I'll be reviewing the impact of recent changes to the local minimum wage in the City of Tucson. On November 2nd, Tucson, Arizona voters passed Proposition 206, a citizen initiative officially known as the Tucson Minimum Wage Act, increasing the city's minimum wage to $15 an hour by 2025. As a result of the act, on April 1st, 2022, Tucson's minimum wage will increase to $13 per hour. It will continue to increase annually until 2025, when it becomes $15 per hour. After that, the minimum wage may increase each January to the nearest 5 cents, depending on the rate of inflation, and that will be announced no later than November 1st of the previous year. As always, a higher state and federal minimum wage will supersede these rates. The act does apply to all employees, whether full-time, part-time, or temporary, who perform at least 5 hours of work within Tucson's geographic boundaries in a given pay period. Employees of the state of Arizona, the United States, and tribal entities are exempt. You can determine if a worker is an employee or a contractor by performing the ABC test. The ABC test has 3 criteria. 1, the individual is free from the control and direction of the hiring entity in connection with the performance of the work. 2, the individual performs work that is outside the usual course of the hiring entity's business. And 3, the individual is customarily engaged in an independently established trade, occupation, or business of the same nature as that involved in the work performed for the hiring entity. If you can answer yes to all 3 questions, the worker is a contractor. If you say no to any of the questions, they are an employee. The Act does specifically address a couple special types of employees. For example, casual employees who perform babysitting services at an employer's home are excluded from the Act. It also addresses tipped employees. In regards to tipped employees, employers may take a tip credit of no more than $3 per hour. Those tipped employees are defined essentially the same as they are under the Federal Fair Labor Standards Act, known as FLSA. This means that a tipped employee can be paid no less than $10 per hour. They would then receive $3 per hour as a tip credit, and that would get the employee up to the minimum wage of $13 per hour. The Act also specifically defines what counts as work hours. It defines work hours as any time that an employer either requires the employee to undergo a security screening immediately prior to or following a work shift, to be on the employer's premises, to be at a prescribed work site, or to be logged in and actively attentive to an employer-provided computer program, phone, application, or similar device. As we've all had to deal with over the past couple years, it also addresses issues like remote employees. If an employer and employee mutually agree that the employee will work from home and the employee's residence is subsequently annexed into the city, the employee will be covered by the Act 90 days after annexation. Similarly, if Tucson annexes property that brings within the city limits and an employer's workplace falls within the annexed property, the employees of that employer become covered by the Act 90 days after annexation. An employee's involuntary discharge during the 90-day period creates a rebuttable presumption that the discharge was retaliatory in violation of the Act. A few other details covered by the Act we'll cover now. The Act prohibits employers from requiring employees to receive minimum wage payments using a pay card, reloadable debit card, or similar method that requires the employee to possess a valid Social Security number. Except as required by law or court order, the Act prohibits employers from making deductions from an employee's pay if doing so would result in the employee receiving less than the minimum wage, including but not limited to amounts deducted for employer-provided meals and damaged, lost, or spoiled goods. Additionally, under the Act, large employers, defined as those that averaged at least 26 employees, again, full-time, part-time, or temporary, during the last quarter of the previous year must pay at least 3 hours of minimum wage compensation in several circumstances. 1, an employee is scheduled to work at least 3 hours. The employee timely shows up for that work. The employee is able to work the entire shift, but the employer engages the employee for fewer than 3 hours. Or 2, an employee is scheduled to work at least 3 hours, and the employer cancels the employee's shift with less than 24 hours notice. You can reach the minimum wage team at the City of Tucson at the following email address, phone number, and learn more information on the web. Additionally, we have an online form where you can submit questions or comments about Proposition 206 and the minimum wage, and a member of our team will answer those questions on the website or get back with you if necessary. Thank you for joining us today.